So free is to be taken as a relative term. You know.
Oh yeah, well, let's just have new words for stuff, okay? So free isn't really free, it just means free while you're in jail. Yeah, but you're still free. Hmm?
Freer than what The Rock has, for example. Okay? So the idea is there's...
Well, why don't you just concede that everything is confined by physical limitations, physical rules, okay? And that they exist, and that the name of those rules can be all put under one category called cause and effect.
Intentionality. No, it's not totally unlimited, and it's not what we think, and it doesn't go on in this conscious part of our brain that's saying, I am me. That's just watching the will, like it watches your breathing and heart rate, and it watches your temperature, and it watches for your pain input.
It doesn't even do any of that, okay? It didn't, like I said, I'm watching myself say these words now, but it's like I'm not even watching, because I've already reacted to me saying them before I've even reacted to saying them. So, you know, it's not even a good spectator.
I mean, it's just a little reading monitor center. I believe most of the will is very much more distributed in the mind, and also more unconscious than we usually assume. So there's
well, we usually assume, but no, most of us don't usually assume that. Most of us have made videos about the fact that that's exactly how it is, that most of what we do is a subconscious program, software written on us, that we don't write. It gets written on us by our life experience and the rest of the deterministic world.
There's in the will. But to go after the idea that there is will in favor of determinism, well, that might have been enlightened at one time.
Well, the whole language is unenlightened, okay? Because now we know that these things don't exist, that spontaneous and random are illusions, and that your concept of will is itself, again, that was a presumption that we were all had an identity, a little man in our brain, you know, little globulin or something. Or we had a little good guy and a little bad guy, and they were deciding what levers to pull inside of our fucking head. But then we learned it's brain, okay? Indians thought they were feeling something in their hearts.
When all of this natural philosophy was pointing in that direction, and that's why so many great minds took that leap, but they were proved wrong, okay? They were just proved wrong.
Well, they were demonstrated to be wrong in some of their conclusions because we provided evidence, something you haven't provided.
If you accept the way empirical science and the natural philosophy works, then there can't be a dispute. They were proved wrong by those kind of criterion. You can say, oh, but God told me, or oh, but I have a better intuition than that. That's fine. But in physics, there's no question. They were proved wrong. Newton was proved wrong.
Right, and you don't have that kind of proof, though. We proved wrong because we opened people's skulls and we pulled out their brains, and then we did experiments with their brains still alive, and we poked it, and it said butterfly. Things happened because we poked it somewhere. So we did experiments, we did real demonstrated proofs, okay? But we didn't come up with phantasmagorical bullshit stories about goddamn fucking particles you can't fucking see.
Go to any scientist and say, was Newton's, equation, the last story, on force and mass and acceleration, how they're related? No, that was wrong. It didn't have the relativistic component, and it didn't take quantum mechanics into effect.
Well, it doesn't have to take quantum mechanics into effect. Obviously, yeah, okay, it missed the bent space kind of thing and all that. That gets a little bit obscure and complex, right? Okay, you can't really do that with an apple. You're not going to find the bent space with a fucking apple. All right, but the quantum crap is just that crap. Okay, bullshit. Sorry, bullshit alert.
It's no big deal, but it is wrong. There's no drawing those deterministic conclusions anymore. So, what's your other argument? Quantum mechanics doesn't prove that there is will, but it does prove that there's no determinism in physics. Ultimately,
it doesn't prove any of that. Again, merely because the math treats the particles as having a random component does not mean that quantum mechanics proves or even says it is random. It is merely treating it as random. You've got to know the difference. You've got to fucking know the difference. You went to fucking college about this shit.
There's just statistics that can look determined because you have the law of averages. So you have the law of averages, prove determinism with that.
Exactly. So right there, that does prove it, doesn't it? Yes, the law of averages does prove it. The fact that the dice do turn out a certain way, okay, that you can't have the extraordinary. The dice doesn't fly to fucking goddamn Mars. You can't have a bunch of added up quantum effects that affect anything. You have no demonstrated evidence anywhere of any fucking quantum anything. All you have is your goddamn motherfucking presumptions based on flawed evidence. But anyway, magical presumptions, your phantasmagorical wishing, your goddamn pumped up physics breasts. So anyway, another video. Sorry, but, had to be done. I was getting along with Pyrrho, but this is just such bullshit propaganda. I mean, he can't make his argument in some fair way and say, well, look, this is my theory. No, instead he has to do this appeal to authority crap. He has to sit there and say everybody who disagrees with him is unreasonable and wrong, which is a pile of shit. Anyway, enough said.